Welcome to the program, Nikki Haley. How are you?
Thank you, my friend. It's great to be with you.
Good to see you.
Great to see you.
So I want to talk to you about a couple of things. I've got a lot to run through with you. But let's just start with the news around the world. What the hell is happening with Ukraine? This does not feel right. It doesn't feel good.
It shouldn't feel right, and it shouldn't feel good. This is a bigger fight than just Russia and Ukraine. This is a fight for freedom. And how we handle this matters. We saw how horrible we handled Afghanistan. We can't continue to have those blunders because when Afghanistan fell, it let every corrupt dictator around the world say, this is a weak America. We better move now while we can. And that's what we're seeing happen.
Okay, so do you think we should be fighting, actually in there fighting?
Americans should not be in there fighting, no.
Okay.
And Ukrainians haven't asked us to. But when you see a freedom-loving country trying to protect their own turf, we should give them every ounce of ammunition they need. We should be pulling in, and I'm glad to see NATO pulling in their weight because that was hugely important. Yeah. They need to be giving everything. And we all need to go and support Zelensky to win this fight on freedom. And when he wins, no other dictator will try and do this again.
Okay, so I agree that we should not go in. I'm a little concerned that Joe Biden was saying, hey, we can't let anybody take these old airplanes because that might rope us into it. And then we're now openly saying, oh, yeah, and we're just leaving them at the bus stop there in Ukraine. I mean, what happened to where...
It's foolish. Biden's running scared. He's been running scared from the beginning. If he had done sanctions before Putin moved in, we wouldn't have seen this. President Trump had said that we would send them equipment and ammunition in March of last year when they had already started doing. Biden stopped it. We were supposed to send another group in June of last year. Biden stopped it, all because he thought it would cause Putin to react. Look at what happens when you don't stand strong. Yeah. If you stand strong before a conflict, the conflict never happens.
Why does Putin keep saying that we're on the edge of nuclear war?
Because he has nothing left. I mean, look.
So does that make him more believable?
He doesn't want to die. And but at the same time, let's not ignore him. This is a real danger. This is something that's serious. It's why Ukraine needs to win and win strong. If Putin feels like there's a window, he's going to keep going. If we can stop him where he's at, then he'll start to retreat. The key to that is, one, making sure that Ukrainians aren't begging for help, that they get the help that they need, including the planes, including the anti-air defense systems that they're constantly begging for, but also making sure we hit Putin where it hurts. He can't continue a war if he's got the money to fuel it. And we have to sanction the energy companies, and Biden still won't do it.
Okay, so there was talk last week that after the French election, that Europe was going to say no more oil from Russia. Do you believe that? Is that in the works?
I think the U.S. needs to be pushing them that way. There's not an option for them to continue getting oil from Russia. It puts us all in danger for them to do that. Are they going to struggle? Yeah, a little bit. Can we double down and start, exporting liquefied natural gas? Can we help them go and find other avenues to get it, just like Poland and Lithuania are getting it from Australia? Yeah. Yes, we can. That's what has to happen. It's not.
But they're not going to do that. This Biden administration will not release any kind of sanctions, if you will, on our own companies to go and get more liquefied natural gas, to go get anything, even for our own self. We're shipping our own strategic oil reserve to Europe.
Because Biden's scared of the climate change people. Like, he's scared of the Green New Deal, people that fight for that. And we're seeing it, and it's making America weak. I mean, it's a serious issue what we've got right now, but we can right the ship. That's the biggest thing. I have faith we can right the ship. And that first starts by, do we win these elections in November? But more importantly, What do we do when we win? We have to prove we deserve to be there. So when Republicans take control of the House and Senate, which I am all over the country trying to help candidates, when they take it, what do? You don't just say no to Biden. What do you say yes to? You say yes to making sure that we're exporting more liquefied natural gas, that we're opening up our energy reserves. You say yes to we're going to stop all this wasteful spending. You say yes to the fact that we're going to be strong abroad by having a strong voice against terrorism and all dictators that try and threaten America or say death to America. We can start doing things. You say yes to, yes, we're going to take care of our children's education and we're not going to let all of these teachers unions do it. We've got to start saying yes to a lot of things and not just say no to Biden.
So how do we say yes to the end of inflation? How is this one going to be solved? Because we're close to the death spiral here on inflation.
I mean, Glenn, it's so bad that the average family is spending $5,000 to $6,000 more a year. Now, when Michael and I were raising our children, if you told us we had to spend $5,000 to $6,000 more a year, do you know where we'd get it from? A credit card. And do you know what happens to families when that happens? That's the fear I have is, what about these families who are just trying to make it through today? The way you do that is, first of all, yes, we open up our energy sector and we make sure something like that works, but you stop this wasteful spending. Do you know in the last spending package, Republicans and Democrats passed 5,000 earmarks totaling $10 billion. You want to hear what some of that was? $12 million for a baseball park in New York. $15 million for New Jersey to apply to get the World Cup. $6.5 million for golf courses in Colorado. This is our Republicans and Democrats doing this, Glenn. That is not okay. You can't say and go on TV and scream that inflation is terrible and turn around and co-sponsor an earmark and open that back up. Where were our Republicans in this? Why did they allow this to happen? We had stopped earmarks.
Well, it's kind of where I am with the Republican Party in whole. I see a few that are standing up and are fighting the good fight. But then you see people like Mitch McConnell. I mean, you've got to clean out these federal agencies.
Term limits.
You have to just clean them out. Well, you're not going to be able to do that if you have a president without the Congress. Congress has to do it. And you could have, control of the Congress with Republicans, but do they even get it?
Do you know what else Congress can do? Put controls on our border. They can fix this border crisis. Where is Congress? That's what I'm going to keep saying is we need the fighters. We need those that understand that you have to make so much noise. The people will follow you if you do that. But you can't go on this runaway spending where our debt's more than our economy. Do you know we're having to borrow money to make our interest payments?
Oh, yeah, I know.
Our kids and grandkids will never forgive us for this. We have got to right the ship for the good of our country, for the good of the world, for the good of the next generation. It's time for all this to stop.
So what are the things that you do? You're the founder of Stand for America, and you go out and you try to promote good policies and also the right candidates. You just endorsed Sarah Palin. Why?
Couple of reasons. First of all, when I was running for governor the first time, there were 5 candidates. I started as the 5th out of 5, had the least amount of money, the least name ID, and I got up to the 2nd position. I was running against a lieutenant governor, a congressman, an attorney general, a state senator. Got up to the 2nd position, and Sarah Palin, without telling her staff, called me the day before and said, Todd called and said, "We're coming to South Carolina. We're going to endorse Nikki." And she did a pro-life speech in the morning. She did an NRA speech in the afternoon, and she came and endorsed me in the evening and helped push me over the deep end. So first, I'll tell you, my loyalty to her will always be strong. But secondly, it's because I believe in her. She had a voice that matters. Glenn, she was canceled before we ever talked about cancel culture. She was vilified by the media before we ever had all this happen. And she was a great governor. She understood the value of a dollar. She understood what real families went through. And she and they called us the rock star sisterhood. We related on so many levels because the establishment denied me. and the resistance didn't think I was cool enough or fit the mold for them. And Sarah went through the same thing. And, we need her voice in Congress. I would love to see her walking the halls of Congress and reminding them of what the Tea Party was all about and how taxed enough already is happening again. I would love for her to talk about what opening up our energy policies and really doing that. She's the right person. I'd love to have her back.
Is she in Arizona? Where is she?
Sarah?
Yeah.
She's in Alaska.
She's back in Alaska?
She's in Alaska.
Okay. All right. So who's the candidate that you have seen that you've said, oh my gosh, this is a new breed?
I think there's been a few. In the last cycle, it was the Victoria Sparks. It was the Nicole Maliotakis. It was the Nancy Mace. There were a lot of just fighters, had good fighters about them. Now we're seeing different ones in terms of like Morgan Luttrell in Texas, Wesley Hunt in Texas. Like those were fantastic. Tony Gonzalez in Texas. We just did him as well. Monica De La Cruz, we're looking at her hard. There's some really good ones here in Texas, but around the country, we're seeing some really great ones.
Good.
And so I just endorsed Tiffany Smiley in Washington State. A lot of people are throwing Washington State away. If anybody can win in Washington State, it's Tiffany Smiley. And so we're not just going after the easy races. We're going after the ones that could really be difficult. It's why we endorsed Jack Ciattarelli in New Jersey for governor. He lost by 1 percentage point. We almost had it. It's why we endorsed Glenn Youngkin in Virginia. It's because we know when we get in there, you got to push these people over the finish line like Sarah Palin pushed me. Because when you see those fighters, when you see those people that can really move the ball, that they're not just going to bring good policy, but they're going to bring good fight, and they're not going to be afraid to stand up to the establishment, those are the people we want.